everyone needs to roll when you go heel to toe. You roll in a bit. That's not a problem, but if it's excessive, you'll be out of alignment. Your ankles, knees, and hips won't be lined up. So we do that with the shoe because you take about 190 steps per minute, and over time, if you have any misalignment, that's going to cause some injuries and wear and tear on your joints and ligaments. So anyone that needs help with fitting will be doing that. I also want to talk about this other shoe just for a minute. It has a very aggressive foot bridge. If you look at that compared to this one I showed you that has a little dual density foam. So this is just kind of a little bit short of an orthotic or an orthopedic shoe. Some people do need this shoe, so we'll be taking a look for that. And the important things that come up when you're getting fit for a shoe is that you want to have enough room in the toe box. So a lot of people are used to kind of a tight-fitting shoe, especially if you have a background in tennis, climbing, soccer, everything's so tight-fitted. We do not want that in running. Your feet will swell as you work out. You kind of hit that half-hour mark, and your feet are starting to swell, and that's when you get black toenails, loose toenails, or get blistering. So we're going to make sure. And for ladies, it doesn't matter what your shoe size is. A lot of people don't want to size up. No one's going to get close enough to your running shoe to look at the size, I promise. So don't worry about that. And then the shoes, you can kind of expect them to last about 500 miles. I know we do all our training 5 minutes with team and training, but you'll kind of get a feel for what that is over time as you're doing the workout. It's important anytime you start to get any new little aches and pains, and it's usually first in your knee, it's probably time to switch out the shoe. Right now, you're going to have a lot of lower leg kind of aches and pains and all of that as your tendons and joints and ligaments are getting used to the exercise, so that may not be your shoes. It may just be getting accustomed to the training, which will happen again when you do hills, which will happen again when you hit the track and do some of the speed intervals. So besides kind of how long they last and the fit, you want to make sure that in your shoes you have good socks. So cotton is evil when you're out running and walking. So you want to look for a technical fabric. It has a higher thread count, plus it's going to wick the moisture away from your feet and really prevent those blisters. If you're someone that's prone to blistering, I really recommend the right sock because it's 2 layers of fabric, and so the friction will be against those 2 layers rather than against your foot. That's a really good way to go. It's a pretty thin feeling sock. If you tend to have cold feet, or for the walkers, or on wet days, you might think about even getting a woolen runner. It has a little bit of wool in it, so it'll really help with keeping your feet dry. So, like soldiers, we need to keep our feet healthy. That's the most important thing. And I want to talk a little bit about anti-chafe now. So you can even, if you really are prone to blistering, use some kind of anti-chafe. There's this type of deodorant stick, and there's also some stuff that comes in a tube, and you can put that on your feet underneath your socks, and that keeps you good. And then hit all the other sweet spots where you might have friction.
Yeah. You'll know where they are if you don't use that, and then you'll never not use it again.
You get in the shower.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things for safety, especially Tuesday night practices at Green Lake. These winter months, it's pretty dark. This is my favorite reflective gear, and it's up on this t-shirt here. You can see it because you can put it over anything. You just adjust it. If you're wearing a jacket or if you're just wearing a t-shirt, it's very convenient to use, and it's really super high vis. So anything like that. I mean, you can get jackets that are high vis colors. That gentleman's wearing actually one of those jackets. It's just not as versatile. So that's an option. And there's all kinds of blinky lights, which I don't have. Anyway, they're on the wall, but just blinky lights. You can strap them on your arms or legs, just where you're moving is the important part with those to be seen. And then probably a lot of you have had headlamps that you wear at night at Green Lake. There's also a little clip light you can put on the bill of your hat as you're running. You can see a little bit better with that. It just kind of clips on here. When it's raining, it's nice to have a hat that's filled just to keep the rain out of your face. On colder days, you're probably going to want to go with something that's like a knit cap. They're thin a lot of materials out that are actually just intrinsically, they have warming properties as they take the moisture away from your skin and turn it, it's warm, bless you. It has warming properties, so if you tend to run cold, those are the kinds of things to look for. Your head and your hands are where a lot of heat escapes, so we tend to think when you go out for a run, you want to dress for it being about 15 to 20 degrees cooler than it actually, or warmer than it actually is out, because you don't want to overheat. That's a very uncomfortable feeling when you're out moving. So it's nice to dress in layers, and I'll cover that in a minute. But your hat and your gloves are really important for keeping the heat in, and then it's easy once you warm up, you can just get rid of your gloves, tuck them in somewhere or something. So people tend to be colder. It's kind of nice sometimes to do something like a mitten that has a glove and a mitten over to block wind, and it's a little bit water resistant. Or you can do just kind of a thinner glove like this. And actually this is one of those things that I talked about that has a warming property to it, so it's kind of a nice option. Oh, and I also wanted to say something about a watch, because to keep track of the time, you guys probably all have something like that. You can just get cheap. I mean, these are not very expensive. It just keeps track of your overall running time. If you really need a GPS and want to keep track of all that stuff, it's just more expensive kind of thing. It's not necessary, but if you're curious about it, those are kind of fun to have. Okay, and then you'll be getting to the point where you're going to want to start carrying fluids on your run, and there's some different options for that. So this is a handheld bottle. You don't, kind of hands-free, you really don't have to grip it. It just holds on for itself, and there also has a little pocket, which is nice. We'll get to what you'll put in there in a second. Or you can do a fuel belt. It's individual preference. Everyone kind of has their own thing. For some people, it drives them nuts to hold something in their hands when they're running. For some people, they don't want things around their waist. So you might have an idea of what you would be more comfortable with. One benefit of having something like this that has multiple bottles is that you could do one with water, one with your sports drink, which is kind of a nice option to have. So that's something to think about. There are a lot of different sports drinks out there. One of our favorites is Noon. Coach Rod loves it. It has no sugar in it, and it's just a little tablet. So you drop it in the water bottle. These 16 ounces or so. This is where you'll get your electrolytes. And who's doing this? Dr. Cooper doing
Yeah, she's going to do a nutrition clinic for us, so yeah.
Okay, when Dr. Cooper does the nutrition clinic, she'll talk a lot about the importance of electrolytes and how to figure out how many what you need for your particular body. So
yeah, you have to be careful with some of the sports drinks because they have so much sugar in them that if you drink too much of it, it's going to upset your stomach, and you're going to be in the Santa can when you want to be out racing. So
yeah, and it's a good thing to figure out now during training. So on race day, you've got it down what you can tolerate and what you're comfortable with, because there are so many different brands. And it's also nice to look at what they're serving on race day for your particular race, and then you can start drinking that now. So you're probably wondering what you put in those little pockets that I talked about. So you can either do something for fuel. So this is your carb source. You think of the drink as your electrolyte source. Think of these kinds of things as your carbohydrate source. There are different options for that. There are gels. And for gels, you even have different options with that. Some people don't like the consistency. It is kind of hard to get used to, but it's super convenient. And again, with this, you just want to make sure you're taking water with all of these things, because like Coach Rod was talking about, you don't want to get goo gut.
Yeah.
There's some that have higher sodium, and if your sweat tends to be white, you're losing a lot of sodium. Or if you sweat a lot, this is a good one to have. It's Power Gel, more sodium than all the rest. Otherwise, you can kind of go and taste what tastes better. And there's kind of a newer one on the market for people who really like to stay with whole foods and aren't into maltodextrin and all those things. They do help on the run, but if you like to stick with whole foods, there's this pocket fuel. So the base is usually like an almond butter or hazelnut, and then they have other kinds kinds of whole foods chopped up in there. This one's banana, or I guess this one's just hazelnut, but there are different options. For those that don't like the consistency of gels,
Nuts.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Full there are little clips. These are the little gummies. So these are a little easier, I think, to deal with, but you have to chew it. So I don't know. I can't walk and chew at the same time. I usually have to stop. And then chomp, same thing, just little gummies. And then sport beans are pretty popular. They taste like jelly beans. So I think of this as kind of really quick energy. Usually mix it in with some of the other stuff. And then just real quick, I think, is Brooke doing the?
Yes.
Okay, so you'll have PT or injury prevention clinic, but some of these things are things your coaches might recommend that you use. The stick, which is just a way to rub out muscles, feels really good after a run. You can use this before a run too to get blood flow going. And the foam roller, which hurts, but it really works.
It hurts so good. That's right.
So your coaches would say.
Yeah, we'll get into a little clinic on the proper use of your foam roller and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So
hey, Lori, is there a difference on the sticks? I know that there's a couple of different brands out there.
Yeah, the stick was the original one, and then other brands have come out, and I think some have different. Well, there's one on the window right over there. It's kind of a softer foam over, and it's really just.
There's harder ones and softer ones.
Tiger tail.
Tiger tail. Yeah.
Yeah, the stick is the original stick.
What about the different lengths? Is there?
They have one that's a travel stick.
That's the travel
stick.
Oh, I don't know if we have any of the different.
No, they're a little firmer. You can probably get the longer ones like to do your neck if you don't have good arm reach, but
yeah, if your shoulders.
That one's the most serviceable. That length is right for most people.
Do you have any recovery socks to show?
Yeah, recovery socks. So compression is something. It's a lot more popular now. We get the question a lot: does it work? Compression does work. Not good with my hands. It's been used in the medical field forever. I mean, we know if someone's bedridden, they have to wear compression so they don't get blood clots. So it helps with venous return, it helps flushing lactic acid, and it helps wrapping your muscles. So there's a recovery sock that has special banding. You can only use it for recovery. You couldn't be active in that sock because it's going to compress your calf muscles so much that you're not supposed to be active. You don't want to be active in it. But there are active socks, and I wear those for recovery, and I wear them running. You know, the lower leg pain I was talking about that you get when you start an activity. I had some shin splints that I was doing too much too soon, and I was wearing those running, and it was easier. Yeah. Or that twitchy feeling you get after a run. If you put these on, it really settles down within probably 15 minutes or so.
We get into our longer runs, and if you get those, you'll be just be amazed how they're hard to get on and off, but they feel amazing. Yeah.
Ryan, are those active?
Yeah.
And because you always.
They're also nice on cold days too, but I like wearing them on longer runs, and definitely I usually wear them on Sundays after a long run for kind of a recovery run.
Really? And so you wear them all the time that you run?
Not all the time, but I like to wear them on longer runs. And like I said, when it's cold, I don't like wearing long pants when I run. So.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to do. And then you take them if you, those of you going to DC, wear them on the flight.
Yeah, wear them on the plane.
Flight attendants are wearing these on the plane, and especially running and then flying, it's good to have something like that.
Lori, what's the difference between the compression sock and the compression sleeve?
This is a great question. So I think the sock is the way to go because the most graduated, or they measure it in pressure. The most pressure is going to be right here, and that's where you're getting the most venous return. You're not going to get that in a calf sleeve. It doesn't have that part. It cuts off there. So you can only wear those for a limited time. They recommend maybe 3 hours or so because of that, where it cuts off.
Okay.
But for people who are really particular about socks, maybe they need to wear the right socks because they blister, the calf sleeve would be a good option.
That's kind of where I'm at, and I never tried a compression
quickly on some apparel and then. So we talked about dressing in layers, and I think that that's really helpful for our weather. Just again, we don't want to wear cotton, so something that has the technical fabric that you'll get at your running specialty stores is important to wick the moisture away. It keeps your core temperature regulated on hot days and cold days. And then the kind of jackets you'd want for the rain, you want it to be lightweight, and you want it to have something that has venting, just so it's breathable. And you layer it, you can change the thickness of layers underneath. This one I want to show, because everyone's really excited about it. So, 2-in-1 vest and jacket, and then when you put it on, you just put the sleeves on and it snaps like a magnet.
There's magnets.
Yeah, so it's just like, so there's that. And then you can just go with shorts. We were saying you don't like pants. I think the coaches
will
said,
for a while.
okay.
When it gets really cold, I'll cave.
Okay.
It's below 30.
I think Coach Rod and Coach Zach had some competition going on at one point.
He wins every year.
Yeah, who can wear the shorts the longest.
So you end the season have snake hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't, tights are nice. They're lightweight, and then there's different thicknesses. Pretty thin, and then there's some that have like a brushed fabric interior, so it'll keep you warmer once we get further into the winter and have some of those cold runs. For ladies, I think a good investment is capris, because that does take you through most of the season. So anyway, that's an option. Again, just not technical fabric, and you want something that moves with you and doesn't chafe. And then bras for ladies, it's really important to get the right fit. So if anyone has questions about this, you can pull me aside after. There's different levels of motion control, and we want to make sure that it's right, that you don't get chafing and that you're protected. And then for guys, what do you wear under those shorts? Underwear. So these are nice.
Where's the leather ones?
I know. So there's some that have a wind panel right here, and it looks leather. So I was like, we don't have an S&M shop, we have a running shop.
They don't have the ones that have the tearaway on them.
Okay, so I think I covered the basics
How about
on
the laundry detergent?
Oh, yeah. Tamira said.
Because I've been dying to try this.
This is, okay, so I put this up here to remind myself to tell you, for the care of your clothes, don't use fabric softener. If you can hang dry it, it's going to really prolong the life of it. Running clothes are a little bit expensive because of the technical properties, but they last forever. I mean, they go out of style way before they are destroyed, if you take care of them.
Yeah.
So just...
But if you don't use the right detergent, they have a funky odor to them, even after you wash them.
Gets trapped in there. Ugh. So these kinds of, there's Sport Wash, there are a couple other ones, Wind or something.
Yeah, there's Wind.
That one smells really good actually, but it just kind of breaks down the stink without breaking down the fabric. And yeah, hang dry as much as possible. Ladies, put your sports bras in lingerie bags.
Does this one smell nice?
It doesn't have a smell. Yeah.
There's a regular brand that they sell in the stores, Febreze, that has the sports one.
Yeah.
And Tide Sports.
Yeah,
Tide.
Tide,
I was
it's
walking
Tide.
down the hallway with one of the personal trainers from next door, and
It's Tide with
so
Febreze.
kind of like, oh, you just smell like fresh laundry. And he's like, it's Tide Sports.
Yeah.
And so if you really are into scents, like everything I have is fragrance free, but if you like the smell of that, then that's
It
what
only
you
smells good for a couple miles.
That's true. And that's all we're doing.
One thing on shoes for new runners, it's like buy a brand new pair of shoes and you go out and you get them dirty and like, oh my god, they're dirty. Don't put them in the wash machine and wash them and dry them because they'll destroy them.
All the blown rubber, it compresses with that. So you can take the insert, I'll show you the sock liner, you can just take that out. If you want to hand wash this, it's fine, but just take it out and stuff newspaper in here and it'll absorb all the moisture after those wet runs, and that helps a little bit for cutting down on the smell. You can take a little washcloth and part of it.
Rinse them all, scrub them up a little bit.
But I think dirty shoes are a badge of honor.
That's right. That's right.
So, any questions? That was a lot of information.
I replacing the same shoe?
No, I mean, if it's worked and you're not getting any injuries, it's the right shoe for you. And a lot of people want to mess with it and get something new, try out the latest thing. And I don't think you want to do that during training. I think stick with what you know. And
The only one caveat to that is that the shoes have a shelf life, and so if you keep getting online and buying an outdated shoe, chances are, and that's why like a lot of the discount stores, they have all those shoes in there highly discounted. There's a date inside when you take the liner out of when that shoe was made, and if it's more than 2 or 3 years old, the cushion could be deteriorated and not work.
yeah,
So.
that's a good point. It is. It's really 2 years or 500 miles because with the sale shoe, you're getting, these are on sale because it's a little older shoe. We're just switching over to the new ones. But if it's an outlet store online
If you
or
find the Adrenaline 10 on eBay for $10,
Don't do it.
it's not a good deal.
so yeah, that's a good. And your gait just doesn't change. I mean, biomechanically, you don't change that much in terms of how much you pronate or not. If you have become a lot more efficient or fast runner, every once in a while we'll see a slight difference where maybe we were in the adrenaline, which is an extreme, and we can come down to like basics or Saucony that's not going to have as much correction. So we can take a look at you just in case.
Is the Saucony Guide 5 going to be too old or
The Guide 7 is pretty old, so you're pushing it.
So just pay attention to like knee, knee, that kind of stuff. Usually it's your knee that will act up first, telling you. But yeah.
Sometimes with the shoes, though, with the new generations of shoes, they'll redesign them, so you do have to look out for that as well.
Yeah, the Guide 6 is
Yeah, so what they did is they brought the heel height down. Usually that can just help with it becoming a little more stable or secure, not quite as wobbly. The stability level doesn't usually change that much from model to model. It's just more kind of the fit of the upper. They might change the materials that are in the midsole and outsole and those kinds of things. And that some people don't like the updates to shoes, but you would know.
Yeah. Or if you have a baby.
What about
If you have a baby, your gait may change.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Where your hips change. That's where a lot of it is originating.
What about insoles?
Yeah,
And shoes?
so the important thing is there's a shop in town that likes to upsell to inserts and they make their own insoles. We like to fit you, and running specialty stores like ours like to fit you in the shoe and have the shoe do what it needs to. Because of the technology these days, you really shouldn't need an insert. However, people that have issues like plantar fasciitis, or maybe they're kind of in between on the fitting, a stability shoe is a little bit too much, a neutral shoe is not quite enough. Putting an insert in can really help find that sweet spot in the middle ground. People that have high arches sometimes really like the feel of an insert because their arches tend to get tired. So that'll be another thing. Or for some people, they have certain conditions like Morton's neuroma where their toes go numb. An insert can take pressure off of that by cupping your heel and your arch in a certain way. So just know why you wear an insert, because that's what we have a lot of people coming. I don't know, I was upsold to this, I'm not sure what it's for. You want to make sure that you know when it has a purpose. Because it's an expensive add-on. I mean, they're about $40.
Is there a difference here between the
Yeah,
colors?
the super feet is something that you would go to for a lot of times someone that has plantar fasciitis, you're going to want to do something like super feet because it has this rigid heel cup here. So this is what the podiatrists are always sending people in to buy. They can also modify these in a way to kind of make it like a little custom orthotic for you without going for a full orthotic. And then even within these, there's a difference where this arch is more rigid. So someone that has a high arch is going to want to probably do something like this. And for some people that have a little flatter foot, they can't necessarily tolerate that. So we drop down to something that's a little less rigid through that area. And then the arch mold, there's something I'll show you what it looks like.
So it's not just like, I like pink.
Yeah.
There's a method to that.
Sort of like your shoes by color.
Yeah.
Right.
This doesn't have that rigid heel cup, but it's more kind of medium through the arch.
Yeah, and those are heat moldable.
As far as
You
what
can
put
put
'em-
these in the toaster.
If you're spending $120 on a shoe, you shouldn't have to spend another $50, $60, $70 to make it fit.
As a
It
general,
should fit.
yeah, exactly. So yeah,
Try a
you can
different
just,
shoe. You need to put an insert in it.
yeah, so you can just wear these around and it'll heat mold, or you can put them in the oven. Or we can put them in the oven for you.
And I'm not baking croissants.
Okay. Any other questions?
Great, thanks, Lori,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, start
Let the shopping begin.
Exactly.